Right, so we should be now live on YouTube. So welcome to anybody who's watching. The meeting will be starting in about 1.5 minutes. That was interesting what happened then. I had my browser set with YouTube on, so I know it is actually recording. So it's working. So I think we're about 30 seconds away from start. I'm going to share the agenda at this point. Right, we're at 7 o'clock. Do you want to start, Councillor Ty?
Yes, welcome everybody. Fellow councillors, very pleased to see you all. See some strange hairdos, but it's nice to see you. Item 1 on the agenda is minutes of the last meeting. Have you all had the opportunity to read the minutes? Any matters arising from those minutes? Can somebody?
I think Councillor, the Mayor has his hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening, Tony. I'd like to propose that we move these minutes, please.
Second it, please.
Councillor Carpenter has his hand raised, and Councillor Barry has his hand raised.
Right, all in favour?
Yeah, I second the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All in favour, please show. Thank you. Did you get that, Steve?
I'm relying on the Deputy Town Clerk because I'm presenting the documents. I can only see a small snapshot of everybody. So,
okay. Item 2 on the agenda. Apologies received, Steve, please.
We have apologies from Councillor Claxton.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do we have any?
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. When we get to item 4.3, is it? I think it's 4.3. Yeah. Okay. You'll have to just leave the meeting.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay. Thank you. Right. We move on to item 4 then. Declarations of interest. Consideration of applications of planning permission. 4.1. Mrs. Bruce-Morrow. Okay. Change of use, conversion of existing guest house to provide residential dwelling to the ground floor of used by a family at 35 Park Avenue. Yes, Councillor Empson, Councillor Empson.
Yeah, is there any objections from anybody at all on this?
There's no objections from members of the public. However, the applicant hasn't submitted a proper flood risk assessment, and therefore the Environment Agency, obviously they can't pass any comment until that's been received. And because there is due to be a change in living accommodation to be on the ground floor in an area that's considered to be at high risk of flood, there would need to be such a flood risk assessment.
Thanks for that, Steve. Have they been informed of that, Steve?
Well, it's actually on the website, so they can. I presume that the applicant and any agents or anybody else that they've got involved with them pushing this through would be aware of that. And it's obviously for East Lindsey to contact them and to manage the application process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any councillors got anything to say on this one? No?
Councillor Dunnett has his hands up. Mayor's.
Councillor Dunnett?
Yeah, just coming in. On the existing plan, was the bedrooms downstairs anyway? On the existing
Yes.
plan?
I believe they were.
But they would have been holiday accommodation rather than permanent residence, and I think the Environment Agency draws a distinction between the two.
Yeah, I'm just checking because if they're sleeping on the ground floor anyway, whether it's winter or summer, I mean, summer lets and winter lets and vice versa. So there shouldn't be an issue probably with that one.
I think it's because they haven't actually submitted any assessment. If they submit the assessment, then obviously the Environment Agency have got something to work with.
I've just got a message from Danny Brooks, Steve. He's tried to get in. He's asking for the password.
It's on the. He just needs to click on the email that
You sent out.
That was sent out by the Deputy Town Clerk.
Okay.
The flood risk assessment is not really an issue for this council to consider. It's whether or not it considers this to be a suitable application, given that the developing neighbourhood plan says that there should be consideration of hotels being returned to residential accommodation. I would have thought that broadly the council support this type of application.
Could I move that we defer this until the application is corrected and
there may not be an opportunity. I can't guarantee that East Lindsey will give us the opportunity to comment on that basis. It's not within our power to defer it. If it isn't finalised and considered by East Lindsey by the time of the end of the consultation period, then that may be possible. But if the consultation period is finished, then council would have lost its opportunity. And as I say, it's not really, the flood risk assessment is something that the Environment Agency will consider. It's not really a matter for this council to consider. It's for you to just determine whether or not you support the application in other means, and whether or not it is in line with council's policy.
Could I propose that we accept this application then, and just pass it through?
The mayor has his hand raised again.
Councillor Dunnett.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Ty. Yes, I think we've looked at this before on properties recently, and I think we should move this. I'll second that, because we did make it quite clear we didn't want these properties to become multiple occupancy. So turning them back into residential homes where they started out as when they began, I think it's a good idea. So I'd second that. Thank you.
Councillor Barry has also got his hand up, Chairman.
Councillor Barry.
Good evening, everybody. I'm agreeable with Councillor Dennett on that issue. As we said before, that there was some issues forward to us in previous planning committees, that we actually it was put forward like that before, and we accepted it, I believe, with the environmental officer doing all checks on flood assessment.
Okay, well, we've got a proposal, we've got a seconder. All in favour, please show. Did you get all those, Kate? Thank you. Kate? Is Kate not on?
Yeah, there were only 3 hands went up to vote.
Should we try again then? There's a proposal and a seconder. Do we move this one forward? Please show. How many you got now, Kate?
I think that's from what I can see, that's the majority, either using the hands up facility or visually showing their hands.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to 4.2. Mr. I. Ellis, section 73 application in relation to condition 18 occupancy condition as imposed on planning permission reference number. Therefore, you will see extension to existing water and leisure park to provide 189 number additional static caravans, excavation of fishing lake, erection of indoor leisure centre, reception building, entrance wall and gates to maximum height of 2.5 metres, provision of football, tennis court with cover, an outside playing field, butterfly garden, nature trail and construction of access roads, 2 number pedestrian footbridges, associated parking, play area and landscaping. That's for the Skegness Water Leisure Park.
Chairman, as you'll be aware, a good part of this development is outside of the Skegness Town Council boundary and is in Inglemells. With these types of a development where it does cross boundary, or is it just into the neighbouring boundary, it's usual for us to comment but not go into too much detail, because it isn't within major part is not within the town council boundary. Inglemells have supported this. There is currently an objection from the Environment Agency because of the this is low-lying land, and in danger of inundation from the sea should it come through the sea defences.
Any comments from our fellow councillors, please?
The Mayor has raised his hand.
Mayor Dennett.
Thank you, Tony. Once again, I think we should welcome this investment into our area. They're not just spending a few £100, they're investing heavily in the area. So I think we should support this. And if Ingermore's council are happy to go ahead with this, I think we should as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the proposal?
Councillor Barry has raised his hand.
I'd like to second that, Councillor Ty, on that with Councillor Dennett.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. All in favour, please show. Okay.
I think that looks to be the majority.
Thank you very much. Right, 4.3. Mr. and Mrs. Kilner, planning permission extension, alterations to existing dwelling, provide an enlarged kitchen, front porch and WC to include an enlarged entrance porch and enlarging 2 number bedrooms. 4 Seacroft Drive.
This is essentially from the roadside. There's not a lot of visible change. The main changes are in the back in this area. This is how it is at the moment, and this is a step back. You can't see it on this drawing, but it comes across here, steps back, goes across, and then step again. In the sorry, I have to reshare. Right, so here you can see the same elevation is now flat across the back. And that's, they've increased the roof line here and here. So the height of the roof has gone up in those areas. And this is the actual plan.
Is there any objections to this, Clark?
It's not one that's the Environment Agency are interested. There's been no other comments made. So we've got 2 people have raised their hands. We've got Councillor Carpenter and Councillor Barry.
I'll take Councillor Carpenter first.
Yeah, I move that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you. Councillor Barry.
You need to unmute. Sorry.
Press your button to unmute, Councillor Barry.
I'm on mute now, Tommy.
Okay, yeah.
You hear me? I would like just to second that proposition.
Okay, we've got a proposer and a seconder. All in favour, please show.
I can't see Councillor Carpenter. His screen has, oh, he's back again. Right, okay. So okay. We've got Yeah, that looks like the majority again of hands are raised.
Thank you. Okay, on to 4-4. I think we're going to have to leave now, Steve, please.
Yeah, Councillor Empson has blanked his screen and turned his microphone off.
Thank you. Fantastic. Right, 4-4 is Seawoods planning permission extension and alteration to existing dwelling to provide a ground floor bedroom, enlarged kitchen and front entrance doors. 16 Brunswick Drive.
So this is the existing, and this is the proposed. So if I zoom in a little bit, that's the area of the extension there.
Right.
The white there is the original house. That there area there is the remaining garden. Looking over here, this shows the detail. It's adding a disabled access bathroom and bedroom onto the rear of the property. I understand that the applicant has got an easy grant for this adaptation. There are 3 objections, all relating to, in planning terms, relating to the loss of light, which will be the overbearing nature. The other comments that are generally made by the objectors aren't of planning, couldn't be considered for planning purposes. But the main one is the loss of light due to the extension here. This is a single story extension, but as you can see from the layout here, they're tightly packed in. This faces broadly north of the page. So I guess sunlight would be restricted during the middle of the day to the gardens in any case because of the properties, but it would a lot of light, I'm presuming, on one side in the morning and to the other side in the evening, and a feeling of being sort of hemmed in.
It is going back quite a long way, isn't it?
It is going back. One of the reasons that there needs to be a planning application, there's no deemed authorization, would be to do with the size of it and the fact that it's taking up a large portion of the garden. So it therefore comes under having to have planning permission rather than it getting deemed consent.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it looks like a third of their garden has been utilised to the extension.
That, I think it's that's probably about right.
Yeah. Anybody got any thoughts? Any councillors got thoughts on this one? Councillor Dennett?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Ty. Looking at that, it's taken up a lot of the garden. I won't be supporting this because I can see problems with the light. Certainly, early rise of the morning, like the clerk said, midday would be fine because they'd all be, the houses would be sheltering the gardens anyway. But again, if you sat in your garden in the evening, it will be taking the light away. And as you said, it's taking up well over half the garden and a row of terraced houses. So I will be. I'll not be supporting this. Thank you.
Any other councillors?
Yeah, I've got my hand up, Tony.
Was that Councillor Carpenter?
Councillor
Councillor
Brooks,
Brooks.
Councillor Brooks. Oh,
who finally
welcome.
who finally got into the meeting on the most ancient iPad in the house. So my new one and the district council one have stopped working for some reason. I've had to borrow the oldest one. I
Okay.
agree with Councillor Dannett, to be fair. If that's going to create shade into the two neighbours' gardens, then it's not fair on them, is it?
No.
You know, being where it's at on Brunswick Drive, I just think that it's not the right location for that sort of development. You know, when you live in them terrace houses like that, you've got to be fair to your neighbours. And I think if you're going to cut off the light to two of your neighbours, you're not being very fair, are you? That's my view.
I think in planning terms, it would probably be the overbearing nature of the development in the situation that it's in,
Yeah.
and the proximity of the other properties. The gardens are not very wide.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Steve. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a huge extension on a terraced house, you know.
I've took my mute off because I've been waving my hand forever and nobody seems to be able to see it.
Well, I'm sorry, Sue, but I can't actually, you're not on my screen. You've popped up now.
I've been trying to get in on all of it, so I thought I'm taking the mute off.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's what I have to do, Sue.
I agree with Danny and Mark, because if that comes out, that's going to block light out of the back rooms of the next door neighbours as well, and that's not fair.
No. So have we've got a proposal that we're not going to support it.
Are you going to ask me in, Mr. Chair?
Well, sorry, Councillor Carpenter. I didn't know you was wanting to talk to me.
I've got my hand up.
All right, okay. I can't see your hands.
No, on the
Yes, but they don't come up on my
no.
Okay. Okay.
Can those people who aren't speaking at the moment just mute their microphones? We've got feedback going on.
Okay, Councillor Carpenter, you can speak now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I face the same way as this this property down Brunswick Drive. Now, I've got my garage at the side of my garden. I've only got a small garden. The guy at the back of me's got a good 7'6" high shed, about 10 foot wide, and I get sun from late morning right to it setting in the evening. I mean, this guy is obviously building this extension for somebody who's disabled, I believe. Yes, either side may lose daylight slightly in the morning, and one, maybe two in the afternoon, but not for all day. I mean, if it was going to block sunlight all day, I'd agree with the other two councillors. But I think, you know, this guy, he probably can't afford to move. He's got a disabled person in the house, and he's trying to adjust his house to accommodate that. I think, I mean, going on where I live and what I've got around me, I mean, I would support this.
Okay.
I think the mayor has his hand raised.
Councillor Dannett.
Yes, thank you. Can I just clarify that Councillor Carpenter's house faces east to west. This development faces north to south. So it does affect the light in a different way. If it just rectifies looks at the screen where the infant school is showing, further on would be Borough Road. So Councillor Carpenter's house actually faces the other way, just for clarification. Thank you.
And can I just say that the way that that's actually situated, it's going to affect one side in the morning and the other side at night. And it's not fair to affect the neighbours just because you want to build a great big building in the garden, I don't think.
Oh, I tend to agree with you. So that, you know, I mean, personally, I don't think that is fair. I mean, the extension is huge. I mean, it's one third extra onto that garden, you know, living very little. So I personally, I don't think it's fair, but where do we want to be with it? We've got a, well, there's been a proposal that we don't back it. And then we've got a proposal that we do. So we'll take...
Chairman, if the proposal, either proposal really needs to state some planning grounds rather than just a plain support or object. So if those could be modified, if it's to object, then it really needs to be on the grounds that the development would be overbearing in the context setting, and that it would reduce light.
Yeah, and I believe that was the reason for the objection. Okay. So Councillor Dunnett, can you just confirm that that's what you are objecting?
I said I wouldn't support this. I didn't put in a proposal to say I was objecting it. I did say I wouldn't be supporting it on the grounds that it looks unfair to the neighbours. I think it's been quite clear. So if anybody, Councillor Carpenter put forward that he would support it, but on the grounds that he thinks that it faces the same way as his property, which it doesn't, unfortunately. No. So I won't be supporting this, but I'll sit back, but I won't be going with ahead supporting it.
Okay. Right. Is there a seconder for Councillor Carpenter? Anybody?
Councillor Barry wishes to speak.
Councillor Barry.
Regarding this, would it be possible to have a site meeting to actually go on the site to have a look at it? Is that a normal thing we could do?
Well, Chairman, I mean, really, the time for that would have been prior to this meeting. I mean, the agenda is sent out a week before the meeting, which is why we do that, to allow everybody time to have a look. If there was going to be the need for any sort of meeting on site, then generally that should be done within prior. Because, again, I can't guarantee that after today that you'll have any other opportunity to comment on it. I think that Councillor Brooks has raised his hand.
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the reasons why Councillor Carpenter's looking to support it, and it is honourable. But you can't, just because of the reasons are honourable, you can't make somebody else's gardens and their life a misery. So no sun in the morning one side, no sun in the afternoon the other side. I would propose that we refuse this on the grounds of overbearing. I believe is that what Steve said.
Overbearing and loss of light.
Yeah,
that's what I would.
Well, if you actually are looking at the picture, the detail, number 8 at all through the kitchen windows, and then the same would happen in the evening of number. So I believe it has. It's just too big. It's. Can we move on this then, please?
Councillor Burnham has put his hands up, and Councillor Saxon has put his hand up.
Councillor Burnham first, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to second Danny Brooks's amendment proposal.
Okay, there's a proposal that we knock it back. There's a seconder. on the grounds that it'll knock out the light from number 18 and number 14.
Councillor Saxon still has his hand up.
Councillor Saxon. Councillor Saxon.
We're not hearing Councillor Saxon. I think there's a problem with his microphone because it's producing a lot of feedback. I've had to mute his microphone a few times. We're not hearing him.
No.
No, I'm going to mute Councillor Saxon. We can't hear you, so but we're getting feedback from your microphone. So I'm going to mute you again because otherwise it's interfering with the rest of the meeting.
Just mute him and then switch him back on, Steve. Okay.
I can't.
Can't.
I can't.
George, if you can hear me, can you press Shift, Command and A? See if that works. No? Nothing. Okay. Well, we'll move on then. We've got Mr. Brooks proposed and we've got Mr. Burnham seconded. Can I have a show of hands, please?
We have a majority supporting the objection.
Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. Right, move on. We've got neighbourhood development plan. Town clerk.
Chairman, we've now, for those YouTube watchers, the neighbourhood development plan is a policy document that helps to control planning development in the Skegness area. If the neighbourhood development plan that Skegness Town Council is preparing goes forward and is supported by the residents of Skegness, it will form part of the planning policy for the area. Currently, we just rely on the local plan produced by East Lindsey District Council. Since the last time I updated you, we've now received the parking standards and proposed site allocation reports that were requested by council and the steering group. These will come back to council in the July meeting. Letters have been sent to the site owners who are implicated within the neighbourhood development plan, and we are currently waiting their response. Once they have responded, the final neighbourhood development plan draft will be produced, and then that will be ready for consultation. But of course, we're in a situation at the moment with the pandemic lockdown that makes face-to-face consultation quite difficult. So I'm expecting that wouldn't happen until the autumn now, when we can more easily show off the neighbourhood development plan and ensure that everybody has an opportunity to through it and to get their questions properly answered. So as I say, the various reports will go back to council in July, and hopefully by that time we'll have a response from the site owners. So thank you, Chairman.
Thanks for that, Steve. Thank you. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this meeting. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you. And just a reminder, we're on council on the 24th of July. I look forward to seeing you all then.
26th of June.
24th, 26th of June.
Thank you.
It's all right. I'm a month ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Is it not the 24th of June?
24th of June. We'll get it right in a minute.
Yeah.
Late evening.
Well, that's okay. It's okay.
Not on your own.
Anyway.
So can you just tell me which date we're going for? The 24th?
The 24th of June. Yeah,
Okay.
Wednesday, 24th of June at 7 p.m. as requested at the last meeting that we had in the afternoon.
Could I just ask you to get switched on for around about 10 to?
We'll be on certainly by about 10 to
yes,
ready to have people in so that we can. And I'd ask if anybody's. You can try it as early as possible, because once we've started the